About the springtime of every year, during my high school days, the State Department of Health used to send down a social relations worker to speak to the student body. We never knew the speaker's last name. To us, he was just old Uncle Jim. Forgive me for being out of breath, but I've just come from a high school on the other side of town. You know, speaking of 3 or 4 different high schools in one evening does wind a fella. But I'd be willing to give my last breath if I thought I could impress upon you the importance of my subject. Now, I don't suppose there's a kid in this room that doesn't know I'm speaking on sexual relations. And has come with the idea of getting a kick out of what I'm going to say. Well, I want those smart alecks to leave right now. I'm glad to see you're all as interested as we are up at the state capitol. Now, before I begin, I want to tell you I'm going to be quite frank in trying to impress upon you the hell of the condition the social world's in today. I have 4 points which I think will adequately cover the subject, and so you can start counting them on your fingers, and as that last finger goes down, heave a sigh of relief. but I'll try not to make it quite that boring. Point number 1. Sexual troubles begin in the home. It's time the mothers of America were telling their children the things they should know before they learn them from the shady kids in the alleys or from cheap pulp magazines. And then there's always the smutty 4-letter vocabulary found on a public washroom wall. When a boy or girl comes to the age when they begin to wonder, how did I get on this grand earth of ours? Who do they go to? They go to their parents, the people they've always gone to with their problems. But when a boy or girl goes to his or her mother with his or her problem, that mother says you should know such things or we'll tell you when the time comes. Well, let me ask that mother if it's time to tell that boy when he's sitting outside some cheap quack's office, sweating and wondering whether his sweetheart's going to be a mother or not. That's the time they should be told. I've heard of some parents soaping their children's mouths for asking such questions. This is no longer a hushed, secluded subject. It should be taught right here in our public high schools. Point number 2. Lady Nicotine, gun mall of social diseases. As she hangs from the lips of an individual, she not only has the upper hand on his mind, but his pocketbook. If the money spent on cigarettes could have been spent on war-saving stamps and bonds, this last war might have been shortened by hours. I know, you can read your advertisements about the poisons and nicotines being removed, but this is not true. I have a cigarette here that boasts such things, and I'll prove to you by simple tests that their boasts are nothing but pure folly. My first test will be the handkerchief test. I will simply blow cigarette smoke through this lovely white handkerchief. Doesn't that prove to you? They can spend thousands annually on their flashy advertisements, but that doesn't alter the danger to your health one particle. A boy or girl who doesn't smoke, who marries a boy or girl who does smoke, can plan on sitting by the fireplace 5 years alone. Yes, it's hard to believe, but the cigarette habit shortened your life on this grand earth of ours just 5 years. Not to speak of the alcohol problem. I could speak upon that for hour upon hour. For example, on the way over here this evening, I saw something that sort of made me choke up all inside. I saw a little blue-eyed, blonde, curly-headed girl helping her mother up the front steps of their home. The mother had obviously been hitting the bottle pretty heavily. I heard this little blue-eyed, blonde, curly-headed girl say, "Mommy, I think you're plotched again." That's all that little dear said. That mother took a broken beer bottle from her purse and carved the word sassy on that little child's forehead. Now, people, I didn't come here tonight to give you a temperance talk, but really, I'm just a little peeved. If a man or woman can't take a nip or two of the grape without carving up their kids' heads, well, then they ought to be strung up. Point number 3 will probably interest you most here in this room. It's the problem of necking and petting. Don't get me wrong, kids. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind a good night kiss. It's expected. But for a couple to go out and park in a car and neck for hour upon hour can only lead to one thing: disaster. I know girls. The most popular girls are the type that go out and park in a car and neck for hour upon hour. But those aren't the type the boys marry, girls. Those are the type of girls that end their lives up miserably on the Broadway stage or some cheap house of prostitution. I can see by the time I won't have time for my 4th point, social diseases. But I have pamphlets here, which if you're interested, please stop after this lecture. So before I leave, if there's any boy or girl in this room that's afraid to go to his or her mother with his or her problem, you just come and see old Uncle Jim. I'll be outside the principal's office most of the evening. So before I leave, let me leave you with this thought. Live by the virtues of the Constitution and not by the vices of